we are live.
Alive. So one of the things I do to pass the time when I don't want to get ready for bed, because that's a chore, is I go watch Pushing Up Roses talk about Murder, She Wrote episodes. I haven't watched Murder, She Wrote in decades, but it's really cute to listen to. I like YouTube's nerd culture.
It's fun. I've been watching, gosh, what have I been watching on YouTube? Tasting History. I've told you about that with Max Miller.
Oh yeah. Did you watch Sola? The Babish cook do his birthday cake.
Yeah, no, that is Sola. Yeah.
Birthday. Okay, it is Sola.
The sad birthday, right?
The sad birthday. Oh my god.
I loved it. She made it a cake he couldn't eat.
And I love that his first response was, yes, it's sad, but it's also metal as fuck.
Oh man, they're so fun to watch.
They are so fun. She's the best. I love her. And yeah. They're the kind of people that might be fun to get stuck in an elevator with, just because it wouldn't get boring. Like ever.
Nope. I feel like I watched someone else that I was gonna recommend to you. Rachel Maxey made a teacup holster. I haven't watched that episode yet, though.
It's kind of cute. It is definitely cute. It's weird to not be binging Rachel. Like, I feel like I've kind of caught up on all the salient points. So now I just watch it every week when she posts, and I'm like, this is weird.
Isn't that weird? I did that with the soap making channel that I watch. I've watched like all of the episodes now, so I'm just like
I accidentally watched all the Murder, She Wrote episodes from Pushing Up Roses, and now I'm like, she's got all these other things that she does. I could watch one of her other reviews of something else, but I'm like, no, Jessica Fletcher. I need Andrew Lansbury. So this was hilarious. I was down here the other day for my game, and I had made myself a big mug of spiked, what was it? Not eggnog, cider, spiked cider. So there was a healthy dollop of whiskey in there. It was really tasty. I've discovered that my gut likes that even more than I do. If I just have a little whiskey every few days, it improves things. So cool. Who am I to argue? But I had a ring light right here, and I had my computer right here, and the cord was going that way, and I got up to do a thing, and the cord of the ring light slammed my laptop shut and threw my cider across the floor in this huge puddle. And apparently all that my gamer friends heard was me going, oh no, not again! And then everything went black.
I'm terribly sorry, but that's like the best.
and I said not again because I had just caught my foot on that cord, but nothing bad had happened. And this time it was like Armageddon. It was but yeah.
So last night we were making dinner, and I was making the salad, and the lettuce is in like a clamshell, right? So the clamshell was stuck, so I was like trying to get it open, and Dad had gone to get something. And then all he heard was like crash, and then ah! And then me going because what happened was it opened very suddenly, and I got hit in the face with a head of lettuce. So he comes to the kitchen, and I'm just bent over, like wheezing, and he's like, "What is happening?"
Lettuce attack!
Lettuce to the face.
Lettuce NATO.
Have you had your daily serving of vegetables?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. So I made you may have seen I made a gingerbread castle because Abby's lessons wouldn't load one day last week and I was like, you know what I've been wanting to do for years and years and years. So together we designed a cardboard castle and then we cut it apart and then we used that as a thing and then we built it with royal icing and the gingerbread recipe I have, that shit is like, that was stop bullets. We're not going to be eating the gingerbread part of the castle at the end of the year, but I kind of figure that I'll make it like a thing where on the 31st we just crunch it into small pieces and eat all the candy off it. Like that would be the
That seems
farewell.
Yeah, that seems very reasonable. I see people online all the time, like, eating gingerbread houses, and I'm just like, "What the hell kind of gingerbread are you making?"
Right? Weak ass gingerbread there.
Right? It's not supposed to be edible. At least that's my bias, because it never was when we were kids either. It was always terrible.
It is terrible and Jason was like, well then why do you waste spices on it? I was like, so it smells good and it stays fresh because those are a preservative. And he's like, okay, I buy it. Yeah, it was pretty epic. And Avi, of course, Avi, because there's my child is defective, decided that he needed to equip the castle with weapons. So instead of like tiling the roofs or putting in windows or making little people, he made a cannon and a bazooka and I don't know what all else. He likes to do complicated weapons and then describe them at length. And I was like,
In his defense, a castle is a defensive structure.
yeah,
So it's not wrong.
this one is a very goofy structure. I figure I'll save the outlines and then maybe next year we'll add to it because right now it's just sort of tall and ugly.
Well, who among us at some point has not been... Just kidding, we've never been tall.
No, but I've been ugly. Oh yeah.
Ah, yes.
There's someone last thing I wanted to describe on YouTube was I know you don't watch The Mandalorian, but the theme is very recognizable and quite nice, right? It's a Star Wars universe theme, so of course it's nice. Some pianist on YouTube has combined the Mandalorian theme with Carol of the Bells. And I think my favorite thing about holiday music is when people do weird shit to Carol of the Bells. Like the last time I was really excited about a cover, it was like heavy metal. This one's better than the heavy metal one. I was like, yeah, yes. So I recommend going and finding it. And then go watch The Mandalorian because it's really good and I want to talk to you about it.
I don't have Disney Plus.
Oh.
I mean, we do at the house in Denver, but I don't have it here.
Right. Dad's not interested in Disney Plus. No.
No. No. What was I going to say? I was going to say something about weird shit with Christmas stuff. Oh, have you heard? Your children may have told you about this already because I know they also are on Tumblr. Have you heard about... So, let me back up.
Yeah.
Someone on the internet found out that the voice that sings the "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch" song is the same guy who did the voice of Tony the Tiger.
Yeah.
And someone was like, now I just picture it as a breakup song between Tony the Tiger and the Grinch. And someone did fan art of Tony the Tiger being like, "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch," and ripping up a picture, and the Grinch holding a picture and going, "You're great." And then someone was like, okay, but now I want the 10 years later fanfic where they get back together. And then somebody wrote it.
No. Oh my God. Is it awesome?
It's actually really well written. And Sandy won't let me talk about it. She has declared a moratorium. I think it's hilarious.
Oh,
Only on the internet.
right? So for the first time ever, I was able to attend the Stories with Spirit that my storyteller, like professional storyteller friends do. And Cooper's been doing the Solstice Badger for the last couple of years. It's become one of his mainstays. And so I got to hear him perform it as a story, as like an oral tradition story. First, he made me cry. The whole thing made me cry. He made it sound like it was a 1,000-year-old tale that has been passed down to us for generations, and he added some things that I was like, damn it, I wish that was in the book. And he does a very good job. And then secondly, for the first time ever, because we conceptualized this 10 years ago, and then I wrote it, 5 years ago. And in all that time, it never occurred to me. But just the way he turns some phrases, so the way some of the stuff is, I'm like, wait a minute. Are the badger and the sun in love?
I think it was left sort of unspecified.
It is very unspecified. I know this to be true, but and he doesn't like hint it. There's no euphemism, but it's definitely like you could kind of read it that way if you tried. And I was like, it's funny to me that it never once occurred to my little brain that I was writing a love story and not just a platonic friendship story.
Well, I think they love each other very much, and you can say that in whatever context feels right to you as a reader.
It's little phrases like "you will not burn me," like "I will burn you. I'm dangerous." No, you won't burn me. And I'm like, well, I know that to be true, but it's kind of a thing you tell your damaged lover when they turn up in your life. Like, it's okay. But anyway, not at all important, but interesting. Shall we read? I have been missing Lord of the Rings like crazy.
Yes, let's read. I thought I found our spot, but then I've forgotten where it was.
I haven't the faintest clue. It's been like a month.
Pretty close, yeah. Like 3 weeks.
Right?
We were somewhere in the marshes.
Yeah. Somewhere in the dead marshes. One year I tried to read Lord of the Rings and skip the journey of Frodo and Gollum and Sam, just because it's so hard, because you get to where you're as tired and thirsty and I don't know, you feel the dirt and the mud and you can smell it. It's like gross. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So I skipped it. It's not a story worth reading that way. It really isn't. They're catching up on The Mandalorian. If you can hear the music, that's what that is.
No, you paused for a second, but you're back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you have to go through it. You have to go through the marshes and the wasteland and Ithilien and the mountains and Gorgoroth, the whole thing. If you don't go through it, then the end doesn't mean anything. Now, and I discovered this the hard way. Can't just skip to the good bits.
We're gonna go through it.
Let's do. And I will paint Seaborgium, who is a celebrity chinchilla.
Excellent. Okay, I found somewhere around where we were. So I'm just going to start at the nearest section. We might be doubling back a little bit, but it's also been like 3 weeks. So
right.
The hobbits were now wholly in the hands of Gollum. They did not know and could not guess that in that misty light that they were in fact only just within the northern borders of the marshes, the main expanse of which lay south of them. They could, if they had known the lands, with some delay have retraced their steps a little, and then turning east have come round over hard roads to the bare plain of Dagorlad, the field of the ancient battle before the gates of Mordor.
I remember this
Not that the
because Gollum rules them.
Oh right, he says it right after. Okay. So we did read a bit of this. I feel
Just
like
a
some of it I don't remember. Um Not that there was great hope in such a course. On that stony plain there was no cover, and across it ran the highways of the orcs and the soldiers of the enemy. Not even the cloaks of Lorien would have concealed them there. How do we shape our course now, Smeagol? Asked Frodo. Must we cross these evil-smelling fens? No need at all, said Gollum. Not if hobbits want to reach the dark mountains and go to see him very quick. And back a little and round a little. His skinny arm waved north and east. You can come on hard, cold roads to the very gates of his country. Lots of his people will be there looking out for guests, very pleased to take him straight to him. Oh, yes. His eye watches that way all the time. It caught Smeagol there long ago. Gollum shuddered. But Smeagol has used his eyes since then. Yes, yes. I've used eyes and feet and nose since then. I know other ways. More difficult, not so quick, but better if we don't want him to see. Follow Smeagol. He can take you through the marshes, through the mists, nice thick mists. Follow Smeagol very carefully, and you may go a long way, quite a long way, before he catches you, yes, perhaps. It was already day, a windless and sullen morning, and the marsh reeks lay in heavy banks. No sun pierced the low clouded sky, and Gollum seemed anxious to continue the journey at once. So after a brief rest they set out again, and were soon lost in a shadowy, silent world, cut off from all view of the lands about, either the hills that they had left or the mountains that they sought. They went slowly in single file, Gollum, Sam, Frodo. Frodo seemed the most weary of the three, and slow though they went, he often lagged. The hobbits soon found that what had looked like one vast fen was really an endless network of pools and soft mires and winding half-strangled watercourses. Among these a cunning eye and foot could thread a wandering path. Gollum certainly had that cunning, and needed all of it. His head on its long neck was ever turning this way and that, and while he sniffed and muttered all the time to himself. Sometimes he would hold up his hands and halt them, then while he went forward a little, crouching, testing the ground with fingers or toes, or merely listening with one ear pressed to the earth. It was dreary and wearisome. Cold, clammy winter still held sway in this forsaken country. The only green was the scum of livid weed on the dark, greasy surfaces of the sullen waters. Dead grasses and rotting reeds loomed up in the mists, like ragged shadows of long-forgotten summers. As the day wore on, the light increased a little, and the mists lifted, growing thinner and more transparent. Far above the rot and vapors of the world, the sun was riding high and golden now, in a serene country with floors of dazzling foam. But only a passing ghost of her could they see below, bleared, pale, giving no color and no warmth. But even at this faint reminder of her presence, Gollum scowled and flinched. He halted their journey, and they rested, squatting like little hunted animals in the borders of a great brown reed thicket. There was a deep silence, only scraped on its surfaces by the faint quiver of empty seed plumes, and broken grass blades trembling in small air movements that they could not feel. Not a bird around us now. Are we trapped? Who are they? Gollum looked up. A dark water was before him, and he was crawling on the ground, this way and that, doubtful of the way. Yes, they are all round us, he whispered. The tricksy lights. Candles of corpses, yes, yes. Don't you heed them. Don't look. Don't follow them. Where's the master? Frodo looked back and found that Sam looked back and found that Frodo had lagged again. He could not see him. He went some paces back into the darkness, not daring to move far or to call in more than a hoarse whisper. Suddenly he stumbled against Frodo, who was standing lost in thought, looking at the pale lights. His hands hung stiff at his sides, and water and slime were dripping from them. "Come, Mr. Frodo," said Sam. "Don't look at them. Gollum says we mustn't. Let's keep up with him and get out of this cursed place as quick as we can. If we can." "All right," said Frodo, as if returning out of a dream. "I'm coming. Go on." Hurrying forward again, Sam tripped, catching his foot in some old root or tussock. It's way creepier in the book because they're there at night.
Yeah. Yeah. The darkness really lends itself to the nastiness, the fear.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. He fell and came heavily on his hands, which sank deep into sticky ooze, so that his face was brought close to the surface of the dark mirror. There was a faint hiss, a noisome smell went up. The lights flickered and danced and swirled. For a moment, the water below him looked like some window glazed with grimy glass. Oof, say that 3 times fast.
Mm-hmm.
Through which...
Damn it, Donald!
Donald! For a moment, glazed with grimy glass, through which he was peering. Wrenching his hands out of the bog, he sprang back with a cry. "There are dead things, dead faces in the water," he said with horror. "Dead faces?" Gollum laughed. "The dead mushes, yes, yes. That is their name," he cackled. "You should not look in when the candles are lit." "Who are they? What are they?" Did I get that creepy enough?
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking, like, I don't know if I'm reading Gollum creepy enough, and then you shuddered, and I was like, oh, good.
You're fine.
"Who are they? What are they?" asked Sam, shuddering, turning to Frodo, who was now behind him. "I don't know," said Frodo in a dreamlike voice, "but I have seen them too, in the pools when the candles were lit. They lie in all the pools, pale faces, deep, deep under the dark water. I saw them, grim faces and evil, and noble faces and sad. Many faces proud and fair, and weeds in their silver hair. But all foul, all rotting, all dead. A foul light is in them." Frodo hid his eyes in his hands. "I know not who they are, but I thought I saw their men and elves and orcs beside them." "Yes, yes," said Gollum, "all dead, all rotten, elves and men and orcs. The dead marshes. There was a great battle long ago, yes. So they told him when Smeagol was young, when I was young before the precious came. It was a great battle. Tall men with long swords, and terrible elves, and orcs shrieking. They fought on the plain for days and months at the black gates. But the marshes have grown up since then, and swallowed up the graves, always creeping, creeping." "But that is an age and more ago," said Sam. "The dead can't really be there. Is it some devilry hatched in the dark land?" "Who knows? Smeagol doesn't know," answered Gollum. "You cannot reach them, you cannot touch them. We tried once. Yes, precious. I tried once, but you cannot reach them. Only shapes to see, perhaps, not to touch. No, precious. All dead." Sam looked darkly at him and shuddered again, thinking that he guessed why Smeagol had tried to touch them. Wah! Ah, so, ugh.
Yeah.
Gross. "Well, I don't want to see them," he said. "Never again. Can't we get on and get away?" "Yes, yes," said Gollum, "but slowly, very carefully, or hobbits go down to join the dead ones and light little candles. Follow Smeagol. Don't look at lights." He crawled away to the right, seeking for a path round the mere. Just a moment, I've creeped myself out now.
Right.
Well, I'm like, what do you think happened when he tried to reach them?
They just vanished like a mirage.
I was picturing him like just getting deeper and deeper into the water and eventually like almost drowning.
That is totally possible.
Anyway, moving on.
The adventure of Gollum trying to eat elves that died 2,000 years ago. Once upon a time.
Ick.
It's like an aged mammoth meat.
I'm pretty sure it's not. Okay. He crawled away to the right, seeking for a path round the mere. They came close behind, stooping, often using their hands even as he did. 3 precious little golems in a row we shall be if this goes on much longer, thought Sam. At last they came to the end of the black mere, and they crossed it, perilously, crawling and hopping from one treacherous island tussock to another. Often they floundered, stepping or falling hands first into waters as noisome as a cesspool, till they were slimed and fouled almost up to their necks, and stank in one another's nostrils. It was late in the night when at length they reached firmer ground again. Gollum hissed and whispered to himself, but it appeared that he was pleased. In some mysterious way, by some blended sense of feel and smell and uncanny memory for shapes in the dark, he seemed to know just where he was again and to be sure of his road ahead. Now on we go, he said. Nice hobbits, brave hobbits. Very, very weary, of course, so we are, my precious, all of us. But we must take master away from the wicked lights. Yes, yes, we must. With these words he started off again, almost at a trot, down what appeared to be a long lane between high reeds, and they stumbled after him as quickly as they could. But in a little while he stopped suddenly, and sniffed the air doubtfully, hissing as if he was troubled or displeased again. What is it? Growled Sam, misinterpreting the signs. What's the need to sniff? Stink nearly knocks me down with my nose held. You stink, and master stinks. The whole place stinks. Yes, yes, and Sam stinks, answered Gollum. Poor Smeagol smells it.
Gave him an opportunity.
Poor Smeagol smells it, but good Smeagol bears it. Helps nice master. But that's no matter. The air is moving, change is coming. Smeagol wonders. He's not happy. He went on again, but his uneasiness grew, and every now and again he stood up to his full height, craning his neck eastward and southward. For some time the hobbits could not hear or feel what was troubling him. Then suddenly all 3 halted, stiffening and listening. To Frodo and Sam it seemed that they heard far away a long wailing cry, high and thin and cruel. They shivered. At the same time the stirring of the air became perceptible to them, and it grew very cold. As they stood straining their ears, they heard a noise like a wind coming in the distance. The misty lights wavered, dimmed, and went out. Gollum would not move. He stood shaking and gibbering to himself, until with a rush the wind came upon them, hissing and snarling over the marshes. The night became less dark, light enough for them to see, or half see, shapeless drifts of fog, curling and twisting as it rolled over them and past them. Looking up, they saw the clouds breaking and shredding, and then high in the south the moon glimmered out, riding the flying wrack. For a moment, the sight of it gladdened the hearts of the hobbits, but Gollum cowered down, muttering curses on the white face. Then Frodo and Sam, staring at the sky, breathing deeply of the fresher air, saw it come, a small cloud flying from the accursed hills, a black shadow loosed from Mordor, a vast shape, winged and ominous. It scudded across the moon, and with a deadly cry went away westward, outrunning the wind in its fell speed. They fell forward, groveling heedlessly on the cold earth. But the shadow of horror wheeled and returned, passing lower now, right above them, sweeping the Fenreek with its ghastly wings. And then it was gone, flying back to Mordor with the speed of the wrath of Sauron, and behind it the wind roared away, leaving the dead marshes bare and bleak. The naked waste, as far as the eye could pierce, even to the distant menace of the mountains, was dappled with the fitful moonlight. Frodo and Sam got up, rubbing their eyes like children wakened from an evil dream to find the familiar night still over the world, but knelt forward on his elbows, covering the back of his head with his large flat hands. "Race!" he wailed. "Race on wings! The precious is their master. They see everything, everything. Nothing can hide from them. Curse the white face! They tell him everything. He sees, he knows. Ah, Gollum, Gollum, Gollum." It was not until the moon had sunk, westering far away beyond Tol Brandir, that he would get up or make a move. From that time on, Sam thought that he sensed a change in Gollum again. He was more fawning and would be friendly, but Sam surprised some strange looks in his eyes at times, especially towards Frodo, and he went back more and more into his old manner of speaking. And Sam had another growing anxiety. Frodo seemed to be weary, weary to the point of exhaustion. He said nothing, indeed he hardly spoke at all, and he did not complain, but he walked like one who carries a load the weight of which is ever increasing, and he dragged along slower and slower, so that Sam had often to beg Gollum to wait, and not to leave their master behind. In fact, with every step towards the gates of Mordor, Frodo felt the ring on its chain about his neck grow more burdensome. He was now beginning to feel it as an actual weight, dragging him earthwards. But far more he was troubled by the eye, so he called it to himself. It was that more than the drag of the ring that made him cower and stoop as he walked. The eye, that horrible growing sense of a hostile will that strove with great power to pierce all shadows of cloud and earth and flesh, and to see you, to pin you under its deadly gaze, naked, immovable. So thin, so frail and thin the veils were become that still warded it off. Frodo knew just where the present habitation and heart of that will now was, as certainly as a man can tell the direction of the sun with his eyes shut. He was facing it, and its potency beat upon his brow. Gollum probably felt something of the same sort. But what went on in his wretched heart, between the pressure of the eye and the lust of the ring that was so near, and his grovelling promise, made half in the fear of cold iron, the hobbits did not guess. Frodo gave no thought to it. Sam's mind was occupied mostly with his master, hardly noticing the dark cloud that had fallen on his own heart. He put Frodo in front of him now, and kept a watchful eye on every movement of his, supporting him if he stumbled, and trying to encourage him with clumsy words. When day came at last, the hobbits were surprised to see how much closer the ominous mountains had already drawn. The air was now clearer and colder, and though still far off, the walls of Mordor were no longer a cloudy menace on the edge of sight, but as grim black towers they frowned across a dismal waste. The marshes were at an end, dying away into dead peats and wide flats of dry, cracked mud. The land ahead rose in long, shallow slopes, barren and pitiless, towards the desert that lay at Sauron's gate. While the grey light lasted, they cowered under a black stone like worms, shrinking, lest the winged terror should pass and spy them with its cruel eyes. The memory of that journey was a shadow of growing fear in which memory could find nothing to rest upon. For 2 more nights they struggled on through the weary, pathless land. The air, as it seemed to them, grew harsh, filled with a bitter reek that caught their breath and parched their mouths. At last, on the 5th morning since they took the road with Gollum, they halted once more. Before them, dark in the dawn, the great mountains reached up to roofs of smoke and cloud. to roofs of smoke and cloud. Lost my line there.
Oh.
Out from their feet were flung huge buttresses and broken hills that were now at the nearest scarce a dozen miles away. Frodo looked round in horror. Dreadful as the dead marshes had been and the arid moors of the no-man lands, still more loathsome far was the country that the crawling day now slowly unveiled to his shrinking eyes. Even to the mere of dead faces some haggard phantom of green spring would come. But here neither spring nor summer would ever come again. Here nothing lived, not even the leprous growths that feed on rottenness. The gasping pools were choked with ash and crawling muds, sickly white and gray, as if the mountains had vomited the filth of their entrails upon the lands about. High mounds of crushed and powdered rock, great cones of earth fire-blasted and poison-stained, stood like an obscene graveyard in endless rows, slowly revealed in the reluctant light. They had come to the desolation that lay before Mordor, the lasting monument to the dark labor of its slaves that should endure when all their purposes were made void, a land defiled, diseased beyond all healing, unless the great sea should enter in and wash it with oblivion.
You think maybe he was anti-industrial?
I mean, I don't know where you got that impression. That certainly had nothing to do with that horrifying description of slag pits that we just read.
None whatsoever. You're right. I'm making shit up now.
Aw, she's cute.
Yeah.
I like chinchillas.
Me too. She's not really chinchilla chonky enough, but what the hell. She's anthropomorphic. This one's for the furries.
Several in this series have been for the furries.
That's true. Oh, you should see how Tungsten turned out. He's kind of cute, but he's wearing pants that have like almost a cummerbund shape to them, and it's reminding me very much of Adam Driver, which then makes me think of John Oliver talking about Adam Driver. That's entertaining.
Doesn't John Oliver have like a massive crush on Adam Driver?
Oh yeah, that was the entire running gag this season, and actually Adam Driver ended up like calling on the final episode.
Oh, speaking of celebrities.
Yes.
Did you hear that Eddie Izzard has switched pronouns to she, her?
I have. She is stunning.
Right. Good for her.
Good for her. I have always loved Eddie with any pronouns.
Yeah. Well, and she's sort of been living the gender fluid life since well before that was the term for it.
Right?
So I guess some people are surprised. I don't see why anyone is surprised.
No one should be surprised. My only the only like cloud in the silver lining is that boys who like being boys who like to wear dresses have like lost her. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But there's more role models for that, as Blue was swift to point out to me. So
yeah, there's quite a lot of role models and more with some of the younger celebrities too. So
yeah,
they'll be all right.
Indeed.
I guess back to Mordor.
Back to Mordor.
Anti-industrialism. I feel sick, said Sam. Frodo did not speak.
Very succinct.
For a while they stood there, like men on the edge of a sleep where a nightmare lurks, holding it off, though they know that they can only come to morning through the shadows. The light broadened and hardened. The gasping pits and poisonous mounds grew hideously clear. The sun was up, walking among clouds and long flags of smoke, but even the sunlight was defiled. The hobbits had no welcome for that light. Unfriendly it seemed, revealing them in their helplessness, little squeaking ghosts that wandered among the ash heaps of the Dark Lord. I'd say that we should keep reading until a happier stopping place, but there's not going to be one.
No, there really isn't. It just gets worse. Well, Athelion eventually, but we
Yeah,
don't
but we're
read all the way to Athelion tonight.
no. Athilion's quite a ways off.
Yeah. I'm always reminded Tolkien uses words in ways that nobody else could get away with. I would tease J.K. Rowling if she tried to describe someone as having shrinking eyes at the sight of something horrifying, but because it is part of his parlance and blends in so well with everything else, I don't even question it. I just admire it.
I don't even. I'm like looking now to be like, where did he even say shrinking eyes?
The daylight revealed to their shrinking eyes.
Oh yeah,
Right? But it fits. It works.
It does. It's because he's established this sort of high metaphorical tone.
And he never repeats himself. It's not the bronzed hair syndrome that I hate so much. Like, yeah.
Bronze hair.
Yeah. He can say how loathsome a place is in 57 different ways that are all equally powerful, and yeah. Go, Jonold. I wanted, before we go, to discuss with you a second day in the week for shenanigans.
Oh, indeed. Yes. Were we for Lord of the Rings shenanigans or for holiday shenanigans?
For Lord of the Rings shenanigans, just in general, because I miss doing twice weekly. I felt like that was really nice. If it's too stressful, I'll leave it alone. But if you've acclimated to where it would not be too stressful, I would like to do it again.
I would like to do that again, but let's wait until after the holiday season and all of that good stuff, because right now work is very stressful.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, it's our busy season, and also people keep going on and off of lockdown all of the times. So
I'm glad you're not caught up in that nonsense.
Yeah,
Mom
I
has
mean,
to go into the school she works in, not because there's children there, because there's not, but because as paras, they have to be, they can't work from home. They have to be supervised, like in person. And I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So, like, bureaucracy strikes again.
Yep.
Is she really a chinchilla though? Not like a mouse or a kangaroo rat or any of that?
I don't know if I'm the person to ask because I know that she's a chinchilla, so like I see it.
Right. I will ask someone unawares. What kind of animal is this?
Good call.
Or, of course, if they don't know what a chinchilla is, it's going to be a very difficult.
Yes. Pick someone who knows what a chinchilla is,
Yes.
but doesn't know that this is a chinchilla.
Which I shall establish in cunning ways.
Hey, what's a chinchilla? Okay, good. Now forget about chinchillas and tell me what this is.
No, I ought to just do it backwards. Hey, what is this? Yes, I know kangaroo rat sounds accurate, but have you ever heard of a chinchilla? No? Okay, never mind.
Bro, do you even chinchilla?
Dude, you're acting stressed. You need a chinchilla. Except it's Spanish, so it's probably chinchilla. We may very well be saying it wrong the whole time.
Anglophones. What you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Oh, I have been doing a lot more Duolingo and a lot less Rosetta Stone because I kind of ended up out on a limb on Rosetta Stone. I got to where I was doing really complex sentences, and then I left it alone for too long, and that part of my brain atrophied. So if I want to go back, I have to like find the place where I'm still remembering the lessons. Because I tried last week, and it was like 27 word sentence, and I was like, Duolingo's much, much, much easier, but it doesn't pronounce nearly as much, and I really need the pronunciation.
Yeah, because you're studying Irish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you need the pronunciation.
I know how to spell Shekade, but I don't know how to say it. It's useless. I don't want to communicate by writing shit down at people.
Yeah, that would be not super efficient.
No, and any word, well, they use the alphabet in their own special way.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Oh, well, I think I'm probably going to pass out again, as I have been wont to do.
Well,
That's been...
yeah, it's part of the acclimation process and winter.
All of the above. So I will see you on Friday.
Yes, we shall open presents together at least a little bit. Hopefully the package will be there by then. I love you.
I love you too.
Cuidado.
Liamas.